hear a number of things in the coming days. But what I can assure you is the information that we have shared, that we're putting our names on, is drawn directly from the financial records of this village.
Lori Lightfoot, Chicago's former mayor, just dropped a bombshell with her latest report. She was hired to investigate Dolton's finances, and what she uncovered is beyond alarming. The town is buried under a $3.65 million deficit, and at the heart of it is Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who's been accused of misusing taxpayer money in a big way. Imagine this, over $443,000 spent on Amazon in just one day, plus numerous luxury trips, all charged to the village's funds. Lightfoot's investigation also found that credit card purchases weren't properly documented or approved by the board, raising even more red flags. The situation is so dire that vendors remain unpaid, and there are questionable expenses on police overtime too. Allegations are swirling that Henyard may have engaged in money laundering, using public funds for personal gain. Now that everything's out in the open, it looks like Tiffany can't escape her crimes anymore. The big question is, will she finally face the consequences? Let's dive into this, because whether you're from the area or not, this is a case you won't want to miss. If you haven't been following the mayor saga, here's the scoop. Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dolton, has been under fire in recent months, accused of some serious crimes, including money laundering. At first, she was adamant in her denials, loudly protesting that she had done nothing wrong. Her confidence seemed unshakable, and she didn't shy away from making her case publicly.
I don't handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
You're not going to answer how taxpayer dollars are being spent? That seems odd.
I just answered it. What do you mean? I just answered your questions.
You said you wouldn't answer about Las Vegas.
You asked me a question and I responded.
But everything changed when Chicago's former mayor, Lori Lightfoot, got involved. Lightfoot conducted a deep investigation, and what she uncovered was so damning that Tiffany suddenly went quiet. No more bold denials, no more public appearances. It's like she vanished into thin air, leaving everyone wondering, where did she go? And what happens next?
The village of Dolton is more than $3.5 million in the hole. Mayor Tiffany Henyard is accused of misusing money, and today, she's nowhere to be found.
Henyard has been completely unresponsive to any requests for comment and was missing from Dolton Village Hall on weekdays. Her office hasn't answered repeated requests for an interview, adding to the mystery of her whereabouts. Village employees confirmed that Henyard wasn't in the office, but could not provide any details on when she might return. At a special village meeting earlier this week, Lori Lightfoot revealed that her preliminary investigation found Dolton's general fund had a negative balance of $3.65 million as of May 31st. Another pressing question is about the money spent on police overtime, which has raised eyebrows. Two officers in particular have accumulated huge amounts in overtime pay, far surpassing their base salaries. One officer earned $108,000 in overtime alone during the fiscal year 2023 and $114,000 in fiscal year 2024. This is compared to a regular salary of $72,000 in fiscal year 2023 and $87,000 in fiscal year 2024. The second officer clocked $87,000 in overtime in fiscal year 2023 and $102,000 in fiscal year 2024. Against a base salary of $55,000 in fiscal year 2023 and $73,000 in fiscal year 2024. Deputy Chief Louis Lacey, who was placed on administrative leave earlier this month, also earned $96,000 in overtime in the past fiscal year.
Acting police chief of Dolton has been charged with bankruptcy fraud. Louis Lacey is accused of filing misleading statements in his 2019 bankruptcy case. Lacey is a close ally of Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. He's actually the second top aide to Henyard to face federal bankruptcy fraud charges in recent months.
Lacey has been a loyal supporter of Mayor Tiffany Henyard since she took office in 2021, but now he's facing a 9-court indictment. The charges include bankruptcy fraud, with allegations that he tried to hide assets and income to deceive creditors and avoid paying a settlement from a previous lawsuit. However, Lacey's lawyer argues that these charges are primarily aimed at pressuring him to testify against Mayor Henyard. Now, if you've been following the drama around Tiffany Henyard, you'll know she once had a strong circle of supporters. But as her financial missteps came to light, those supporters quickly jumped ship. There was even a moment when Henyard and some trustees took a trip to Las Vegas where they lived it up in style. Records from various investigations have revealed just how extravagant things got. Within just 1 year, Henyard and her allies managed to rack up over $12,000 in travel expenses, charged to taxpayers. This money went towards first-class airfare, luxurious hotel stays, and fancy meals, paid for by the very people Henyard was elected to serve. And it didn't stop there. Henyard and her entourage reportedly splurged at least $26,000 on a trip, a jaw-dropping amount given the fiscal difficulties Dolton is facing. This extravagant getaway includes stays at high-end hotels and dining at some of the priciest restaurants in the city, all charged to taxpayers. Such lavish spending has sparked serious questions about Henyard's priorities. Is she more interested in living in luxury than addressing the needs of her constituents? But the story doesn't end with the Las Vegas trip. A closer look at credit card records by WGN Investigates revealed even more shocking expenditures. Henyard spent $99,000 on a stay at the Four Seasons in Atlanta and another $133,000 at the Marriott Marquis in New York City. These amounts are staggering, especially when you consider Dolton's significant financial struggles. Henyard has also faced accusations of using public funds to benefit businesses and individuals who are close to her. For instance, a lawsuit claims that Dolton officials unfairly denied a business license to a local barbershop owner while giving preferential treatment to other businesses connected to Henyard. This kind of favoritism undermines public trust and raises serious questions about the integrity of her administration. Alongside these troubling accusations, there are also claims that Henyard has been hiring her friends and family members for government positions, often at inflated salaries. This has sparked accusations of nepotism and intensified the belief that she's using her position to benefit herself and those close to her. She's even criticized for employing controversial figures, including someone with a troubling criminal background. She even managed to push through a bill that would drastically cut her own salary if she lost her position in the upcoming 2025 election, though her salary would remain unchanged if she's reelected. Additionally, Henyard is under fire for allegedly stacking the Dolton Board of Trustees with her hand-picked candidates. She supposedly claimed endorsements from the Thornton Township Democratic Party, but the party denies these endorsements. This has led to accusations that Henyard was trying to surround herself with yes-men who would support her actions. In a separate legal battle, Robert Collins sued the village, claiming Henyard fired him illegally because she disapproved of his wife's political connections. Collins argues that he was discriminated against based on marital status and that Henyard didn't get proper approval from the Board of Trustees before firing him. Furthermore, Henyard is accused of authorizing thousands of dollars for 2 ice rinks that the Board of Trustees never approved, including one person in honor of her daughter. The Illinois Attorney General has demanded financial reports for Henyard's charity, and the FBI is investigating her management of Thornton Township. In December 2023, several Board of Trustee members sued Henyard, accusing her of unauthorized check usage, refusing to pay approved invoices, and restricting access to financial information. Some believe she may be hiding evidence of her alleged wrongdoing. At first, Tiffany fired Dolton's chief of police, who was deep into investigating how village funds were being used. This decision has raised a lot of eyebrows, with many speculating that the firing was a strategic move to obstruct the investigation and hide any potential misconduct. It turns out the chief was scrutinizing credit card receipts and claims that Henyard was funneling taxpayer money into her privately owned cancer awareness charity, something that is clearly against the rules. Naturally, when these issues came to light, the village of Dolton began calling for her resignation. At a council meeting held shortly after the revelations, some residents got the chance to speak directly with Henyard. They voiced their concerns about her alleged failure to do her job as mayor and demanded answers about the missing funds. City workers have reported that they haven't been properly paid for work that was previously approved, which has only added to the frustration. However, Henyard's reaction to the criticism has been less than graceful. When confronted, she has often mishandled the situation, leading to more public outcry. Critics have been vocal about her misuse of funds and questionable decisions that they believe have harmed the community. Her administration has faced criticism for lack of transparency and accountability, with many of her actions met with widespread outrage. That's when the village of Dolton turned to former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to investigate Mayor Tiffany Henyard's financial activities. As we mentioned earlier, Lightfoot uncovered a lot of troubling evidence, confirming many of the allegations against Henyard. Since the investigation began, Henyard has vanished from the public eye. There's now speculation that she might be hiding under the alias Aisha, which is her middle name and was used for a real estate agency she once ran. While it's not confirmed that she's on the run, this theory has gained traction among those following the case. Now, if you're wondering how Tiffany Henyard ended up as mayor, here's the backstory. She wasn't originally a candidate for the position. It all began when the Board of Trustees needed to select someone to complete the term of the late Mayor Frank Zuccarelli. According to state election laws, the Thornton Township Board had just 60 days to find a replacement. Initially, the focus was on trustee Joyce Washington, who was serving as interim supervisor and had considerable experience, or trustee Jerry Jones, both strong contenders for the job. Even Thornton Township Assessor Cassandra Elston was considered a potential candidate. However, in a twist of fate, the board couldn't reach a consensus on a single choice. At the last moment, trustee Christopher Gonzalez nominated Tiffany Henyard, who wasn't on anyone's radar as a candidate. Just minutes before the deadline, Tiffany was sworn in as mayor. It was later revealed that Tiffany had been preparing for this opportunity behind the scenes. Gonzalez admitted he didn't want the decision to be left to the public, so he pushed for Tiffany, hoping the urgency of the deadline would force the board to make a decision. Once Tiffany was in office, her first meeting was pretty routine, where she promised to serve the people with honesty and responsibility. She thanked the board for their trust and vowed to always put the people first. It all seemed smooth until rumors started flying. People close to the former supervisor claimed Tiffany had a personal vendetta against those loyal to Frank. Allegedly feeling threatened by those with experience, she quickly began to assert her control. And one of Tiffany Henyard's first actions as mayor was to remove Jessica Jones from her position, with trustee Jerry Jones making the motion and trustee Joyce Washington backing it up. The decision was unanimous, even with trustee Christopher Gonzalez, who had nominated Tiffany for the role, giving his approval. Afterward, Tiffany set her sights on Stephanie Weideman, but this time the vote was more contentious, with Gonzalez standing alone in opposition. Stephanie Weideman had a long history with Thornton Township, having started working there in 2002 in various roles, including as a full-time employee and later as a contractor. In June 2021, she was promoted by the late supervisor Frank Zuccarelli to be his executive assistant, with plans to eventually become chief of staff. Weideman explained that she was part of Zuccarelli's transition team, working alongside Dr. Jerry Weems, who was brought on as executive director of transitional operations. The plan was for this team to lead through Zuccarelli's retirement, which was expected to occur within 3 years. Weideman was also involved in preparing Township Assessor Cassandra Elston for the 2025 election. Elston had been nominated 3 times during a township board meeting on March 4th to be the new supervisor, but each nomination failed, either due to direct opposition from trustees Washington and Jones or confusion over procedural issues. Unlike Jones, Weideman wasn't surprised by her termination. She recalled a meeting with Supervisor Henyard where Henyard made it clear that she wasn't part of her team, didn't trust her, and was taking away her job duties. Weideman hoped she might be reassigned, given her long tenure since 2002. But that didn't happen. She tried to advise Henyard on making the transition smoother, but her suggestions were not well received. Despite the turmoil, neither Henyard nor her senior advisor, Keith Freeman, responded to requests for comment from the Lansing Journal. But things really started to heat up when rumors spread that Tiffany was bullying other elected officials. Sources claimed that she had a beef with Assessor Cassandra Elston, even locking her out of her office in a fit of rage. When Elston finally got back in, she found confidential paperwork scattered in a common area, where it could have been easily seen by dozens of people passing by each day. These documents contained sensitive information, like social security numbers and medical details. After all her actions of firing employees one after another, Tiffany Henyard faces a series of lawsuits filed in March by former Dolton and Thornton Township staff. These legal actions accuse her of a troubling pattern of unlawful firings and retaliation during her time as mayor and township supervisor. Sandra Tracy, a former human resources manager at Thornton Township, is also suing Henyard, Thornton Township, and Keith Freeman, who is both Henyard's assistant and the Dolton Village administrator. Tracy claims she was unfairly fired in September 2022 after taking medical leave for surgery. She started her leave in February 2022, just before Henyard took office. When Tracy returned in June 2022, she was demoted to a clerk role, but was denied access to her workspace and eventually locked out of the office. Tracy worked from home or her car for months without pay, while also caring for her sick husband. The stress led to a heart attack in August 2022. Her lawsuit alleges retaliatory firing, emotional distress, and seeks back pay and damages. Karen Johnson, a former administrative assistant in Dolton's Public Works Department, also sued Henyard and Freeman on March 13th. Johnson claims her constitutional rights were mistreated when she was fired in August 2022. She alleges Henyard forced village employees to work on her recall campaign while on the clock. After the recall vote, which Henyard later survived, Johnson says Henyard started retaliating against those who opposed her. Johnson was fired for allegedly using her work computer to look up news about Henyard, and she claims this was part of a broader pattern of retaliation against anyone who disagreed with Henyard. Samisha Williams, who ran for Dolton trustee and worked for the village, has 2 lawsuits. In the federal case, Williams claims that after losing the recall vote, Henyard retaliated against many people, including withholding public records and directing village officials to disregard requests. Williams also alleges that Henyard instructed her to block permits unless residents donated to her campaign. Williams was fired in August 2022 via a letter delivered by a police officer, which lacked details about her termination. She is seeking back pay, damages, and attorney fees. Additionally, Williams has a pending lawsuit in Cook County Circuit Court alleging defamation from Henyard during her trustee campaign. So even before Tiffany Henyard's money laundering schemes were exposed, there were already a multitude of legal issues swirling around her, and yet no one seemed to notice or take any action. It's astonishing that someone with such a controversial track record could have risen to the position of mayor in the first place. But considering the influence she wielded back then, it's not surprising that these issues only came to light this year. Just yesterday, another bombshell dropped. A report emerged revealing that a former assistant and town trustee has turned against Henyard, accusing her of unethical, predatory behavior amidst the ongoing scandal over her lavish spending. The whistleblower, Carlisle, broke her silence, sending a powerful message to WGN. Today, I'm breaking my silence and speaking out against Thornton Township Supervisor and Mayor of Dolton, Tiffany Henyard, who I believe has engaged in unethical and predatory behavior throughout her tenure, Carlisle wrote. According to Carlisle, for the past 2 years, Henyard has been manipulating everyone in her orbit, employees, vendors, and even residents, to bolster her influence. All the while, she's been projecting a false image of success, one funded by the hardworking taxpayers of Thornton Township and the village of Dolton. Carlisle admitted that she stayed silent about Henyard's extravagant trips and reckless spending during recent board meetings because she trusted the administration. The Board of Trustees, perhaps spurred by Carlisle's revelations, has now voted to impose stricter controls on spending for special events and access to credit cards, signaling that they are finally waking up to the problem. I am standing up not just for myself, but for others who have been affected by what I see as Henyard's aggressive leadership, Carlisle declared. Her statement suggests that Henyard's misconduct may have far-reaching consequences, hinting that there could be many more victims, people who were retaliated against, fired, or deceived by Henyard, who have yet to come forward. Carlisle's betrayal of Henyard is a major turning point in this unfolding drama. It paints a troubling picture of a leader who, while claiming to serve the public, may have been using her power for personal gain all along. As more details come to light, it's becoming clear that this scandal is far from over. Henyard's once tight grip on her position is beginning to slip, and the consequences of these accusations could change the political landscape of Thornton Township and the village of Dolton for years to come. And with Lori Lightfoot's new revelations, even more drama is likely on the horizon. But what about you? What do you think of all this? Do you believe Tiffany Henyard will face jail time anytime soon? Share your thoughts in the comments below. While we wait for more updates, be sure to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos for more content like this. Stay tuned as this story continues to develop. We'll keep you posted on all the latest twists and turns.